For many years, a neighborhood straddling Dorchester and South Boston was the city's main destination for immigrants from Poland. It's still known as the Polish Triangle and is the home of a Polish church and the Polish American Citizens Club, along with a Polish restaurant and some Polish food stores. Most importantly, it remains a hub for reconnection and discovery. The reasons for the 4th annual Polish Fest Boston happening on Sunday. To tell us about the event is one of the organizers, Eric Basile. Thank you very much for being with us, Eric.
Great to be here.
First of all, I want to talk about your connection here. It might not sound like it from your name, but you do have some Polish heritage.
I do have Polish heritage. My grandfather was born in Poland, and I actually recently went back to his village this summer for the first time and met some of the cousins that I've been out of touch with for almost 20 years.
What's it like for you going back and not only reading about something and seeing photographs, but actually seeing the people in the places where your folks lived at one time?
It was very interesting. I'm not. How do I describe it? It's hard because it felt a little bit like going back to a home planet. I don't know if that's the right analogy, but it was like, this is where your people are from. This is the origin point of where your genetic line comes from. Now, that if you go back further, that's not the source, but for a time it was very cool to find the names, the places and stuff, and also to dig up stories and fill in some of the gaps as to who these people were, some of the reasons why they were going back and forth, what they achieved. For example, I figured out that my great-great-grandfather Jan Kubish was a dairy farmer in the village, and one of the memories my great-aunt has is him leading his cows through the village every day because he had property on both sides of the village, and it was a one-road village, and you knew he was coming through because you could hear him. And they were known as the village. They were known for being the cheesemakers in the village.
Well, what Poland is also known for around this time of the year, especially, is its constitution. Tell me about why that's so important. They had this at the end of the 1700s.
That's very important because what started happening in the 18th century was the foreign powers began to erode at the political structures of Poland. Poland was a nobles democracy, which was a type of proto-democracy where you had to be a nobility in order to vote, which we've seen in other countries before. But foreign influence was beginning to creep in because let's say the legislative side of it, the nobles part of it, was a little too powerful, and there was too much division about what to do. What happened with the 1793 Constitution was they wanted to reform that, to decrease foreign influence. And the foreign powers that be at the time, Austria, Prussia, and Russia, were not fans of that. They had known Polish as the strong state in Central Europe, and they were afraid of a resurgence of a strong Polish country, which is why soon after the Constitution was signed, they fought so hard to split, and they were successful in destroying the Polish state.
Another piece of Polish culture is what you're wearing right now. It looks
That's
festive,
right.
but tell me a little more about it.
So what I'm wearing is the regional costume for the Rzeszów area. That is where my family comes from. They come from just north of there, near Kobuszowa, the village of Zaremki. And so this is similar to, not necessarily what they would wear every day, but this was the nice kind of clothing that you'd wear on Easter or on Christmas Eve when you'd go to church. So you have the nice embroidery and decorations. Now, the story I've been told about where the Rzeszów costume comes from is that this part of Poland, where it's from, was called Galicia, and it was part of the Austrian Empire. And this costume originates from the 19th century. And what it was is supposedly it was derived from the Austrian military uniform, because often when these guys would come back, they were forced into the Austrian military. That was part of living in the Austrian Empire. And they would use the sleeves for something else, but then they would decorate the old uniforms for nicer events, weddings, Easter, and holy days like that.
Well, of course, that region of Poland, it just shows this whole mixture of things in Poland because you have all these overlapping influences from the neighboring countries as well as Poland itself. But let me ask you about what this color is all about, because we're going to be seeing more color, I imagine, at the event on Sunday with some performers perhaps as well?
That's right. You'll even see me dancing with the performers. We will have our world-famous local South Boston Krakowiak Polish dancers will be performing dances from Śląsk, which is a different costume from this one. Śląsk is in the southwest of Poland, and it's known as the mining region of Poland, and today it still produces a lot of coal.
What about some of the other things going to be happening on Sunday?
Some of the other things that are going to be happening, we have a great polka band coming, Daigle's Beer Hall Boys. If you've seen the movie The Polka King, they were the band that was in that movie. Now, not Jan Levin's band, but the band they used with Jack Black in the movie.
You know, I'm sure the people who have Polish heritage, especially if they've been living around Boston, they know what to expect. But what about people who want to discover and explore? What would you expect for them?
What we expect for them? Well, we want them to ask questions. We've invited the Polish Center of Discovery Learning out in Chicopee to come have a booth at our festival. They've come every year, and they're a great resource for figuring that out. They were a great resource for me. That's how I got involved in a lot of this Polish cultural stuff and volunteering for these kind of things. I used to live out in Western Mass, and I volunteered at their museum, and that's got me sunk into all of this rich heritage and cultural information that otherwise I wouldn't have known about.
Of course, the other reason people come here, especially people who don't have Polish heritage, is they like the food.
Well, the food is very good. It's very rich food, because, as I like to say, it's the kind of food you eat and you can then plow a field.
Well, we should mention exactly what time this is all happening, and for people who don't know the map very well, exactly where this is going to be.
Yep. So the festival officially opens at noon. We'll have some opening ceremonies at 12:30. We are recommending people come by public transportation, and we are just a block away from the Andrew Square T-stop. We're at 82 Boston Street, just over the bridge past the Polish Language School.
And as always, you get some more details on the website, right?
That's right. We have a website where you can find out much, much more, bostonpolishfest.com. You can also find our event on Facebook by searching Polish Fest Boston 2018.
Right. Thank you very much for being with us.
Pleasure.
Eric Basile from Polish Fest Boston.